Greetings folks, it's Sarah with Obadiah's. Today I have the J.A. Roby Rigel stove next to me, and we are going to do our first burn today. For those of you who are new viewers, when we do our first burn, we are essentially breaking in the stove. We're going to show you how to light a fire and how to properly cure the stove. When you have a brand new stove with fresh paint, it's important to cure your paint so that you don't have problems with it peeling or chipping down the road. Also keep in mind, with fresh paint on a stove, it does off gas, so you want to burn it maybe outside or somewhere where you can open windows or a garage door potentially, and keep that in mind if you have sensitive people in your household as well. So we are going to take you through the burn process. It is going to be a small kindling fire that we allow to burn down to a bed of coals, which will then move us into our medium burn fire. That'll burn down, then we will go into our hottest fire. This entire burn process will have the damper control at wide open, so we are not trying to achieve our longest burn times in this particular video. I'll give you guys some temperature readings as well and take you through the process. Okay, so here I have my good dry kindling, and I'm just gonna stack it in the firebox here. Always kind of like in a TV pattern, stacking the wood on top of each other to get that kind of airflow. I never use paper when starting my fire, just good dry kindling. Paper creates more fly ash, which just means cleaning your stove and chimney pipe more frequently than you should otherwise have to. If you have good dry kindling like this, it should be no problem to get your fire started. Here we go. I have my handy dandy blowtorch. Again, no paper. Make sure your damper control is wide open, and we're gonna get her started. As you can see, the stove is taking off super nice. It's probably not even been a minute yet, and no paper or anything, no smoke coming out the front of the stove. It's taking off quite a bit. So there is kind of like a two-step latch on the J.A. Roby door here. If you go to this point, it's not completely airtight unless you push it all the way in. Potentially, if you were having a hard draft to get the stove started, you could leave it at that point, because you can kind of see the difference in the airflow here. So you could leave this open, maybe for a few minutes until your kindling gets burning nice and hot before you completely damper down the stove. Just make sure you do not walk away and forget that the door is not completely latched. So here you can see this is how nice and hot it's burning right inside this firebox. Pretty simple firebox here on the design, standard fire brick with the plug in the middle. The reburn tubes located at the top. We have not completely shut the door yet, so I'm going to show you what that's like on the combustion control when the stove is airtight. This is a unique little stove because it's got this super cute enamel cook plate and this top warming oven. So this is a really nice option for people. Maybe you have a cabin who want to do some cooking but don't need the full baking stove. J. Roby, it does have cook stoves with baking ovens as well. But yeah, here's the reduction on the flame now that the door's been shut. The draft is slowed down. We still do have the stove wide open. I'll give you guys an update on some temperature readings after about 20 minutes. Here we are with our low temperature readings. Right now the stove has been burning for like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, about 25 minutes, pushing 30 minutes. And most of the kindling is still there. It's kind of burned apart. So I'm going to give you guys some temperature readings. Then I'm going to scoop it together and put in some larger wood to head into our medium burn. Cook plate. Cooktop here is reading 124 degrees over the right hand side. On the left hand side I'm getting 114 degrees. Towards the rear flue collar here we're sitting at 125 degrees. Inside the warming oven, air holes is sitting at 131 degrees. And so far our warming oven temperature is sitting at 94 degrees. So yeah, not excessively hot temperatures here. The side of the stove is 179 at the top, 92 degrees at the bottom. Front glass is reading 300 degrees. Left hand side of the stove is 162 at the top of the stove panel and 94 degrees at the bottom of the stove panel. Top of the warming oven is sitting at about 92 degrees, and my flue temperature right off the top here is sitting at 140 degrees. This is going to be the low reading about 20 minutes into the stove. Alright, so I am going to load it up here with some kind of bigger pieces. These aren't quite logs, but they're bigger than the initial kindling that I fired up with. So I'm doing 6 smaller pieces of wood like this, which is basically probably about a log and a half worth of actual wood just split up here. So I'm going to let this burn down. This is going to take us into our medium burn. After another about 30 minutes or so into this medium burn, I'm going to give you guys our medium temperature readings. Here you can see the logs burning. So these are 6 kind of smaller pieces of wood. Sometimes the shape and the size of your wood can make a big difference in how the stove burns. So this is about maybe a minute, 2 minutes into loading this, and you can see it's taking off super nice. The flames basically dance off the top of the firebox as it reburns in the air tubes. The glass is also burning very nice and clean here. Probably about 5-10 minutes into the burn. It is burning really nice. It's really satisfying to watch. A beautiful dancing flame, burning nice and hot and clean. So my first warming oven temperatures aren't really accurate. The warming oven was only sitting about 94 degrees, and that's just because I had a small kindling fire. You know, the cooktop hadn't even reached 130 degrees yet. So that was kind of our starting point from the kindling. Now I've had loaded into my medium fire. This has now been burning about 35 minutes or so, and so I want to let you know what you can expect in a warming oven temperature. So right now the warming oven at the bottom is sitting at about 112 degrees, 105 degrees at the rear, and then the top of the warming oven here is sitting at about 120 degrees. So we're probably at about 115 degrees in here after 35 minutes. The stove has been burning about an hour now, so I'm going to give you guys some medium temperature readings. Right side of the cook plate is at 318 degrees. Center plate is at 335. Left hand side is at 311 degrees. Now remember, this is a cast iron plate on top of the steel. So the front of the steel top is sitting at about 352 degrees here. Top side panel on the stove, 535 degrees on the top, 222 degrees at the bottom. The glass is at too hot to register, so I broke my last gun, and I think this doesn't exceed 750 degrees, and I'm just remembering I forgot to buy a new gun, so it's exceeded 750 degrees. I'll leave it at that. Top panel on the left hand side is sitting at 411 at the top, 233 degrees at the bottom. Side panel of the warming oven is about 140 degrees, and we'll give you guys some temperature readings inside the warming oven. inside the warming oven is sitting at 197 degrees on the bottom of the oven and about 160 on the side. Top of the warming oven is 144 degrees. So, you know, on average, usually about 150 degrees right now inside the warming oven after about an hour's time frame. The stove has been burning 2 hours now, and I am ending my medium burn. As you can see here, I've got a nice bed of coals. So with this model, loading the wood side to side is going to fit me more inside the firebox than going front to back, especially with this length of wood right now. So I'm going to go ahead and get it loaded up here. Okay, here we go. So you can see it's taking off pretty nice. I didn't actually close the firebox completely. This is a nice way to allow the fire to get going without the stove smoking or burning too hot. And I'm leaving it at this halfway point for a few minutes because I stacked up the wood pretty good on a very low bed of coals here. So once this gets ignited really well, then I'll go ahead and seal the door completely. All right, so I'm gonna close the door here completely, let it burn. Once this is going into my nice hot burn, I'll update you guys with some temperature readings. Here we have the Rigel burning in our hot burn. Kind of turned down my lights so you can see this nice glow. This is wide open. It is burning pretty hot, but super clean on the glass. You can see the flame off the top of the air tubes. It's kicking out a lot of heat. Mr. Kitty loves hanging out in front of the fires. Okay, we are about 3.5 hours into this overall burn. I am officially in the hot burn, so I'm going to give you guys some temperature readings. 373 on the front panel. On the right hand side towards the rear of the stove, we're sitting at 528 degrees. On the cooktop center is at 452 degrees. Left hand side of the cook plate is at 404 in the front and 476 degrees at the back. The glass is too hot to register. Top of the left hand side panel is at 503 degrees. Bottom panel is at 386 degrees. Left hand side panel 603 degrees, 343 degrees at the bottom of the panel. Top of the warming oven is now at 212 degrees, 171 degrees on the left hand side. And inside our warming oven, bottom warming oven is at 269 degrees. Side of the warming oven is at 209. The pipe in there is at 443 degrees, the single wall pipe reading inside the warming oven. So we are easily at like a 260 degree temperature inside the warming oven right now on average. And this is after the stove has been burning about 3 hours now. Here we have inside the Rigel firebox after our first burn. This is about how much kind of ash we're left with, and with this, after one burn, I'm not going to clean it out. It'll actually act as an insulating factor for my next fire. Yeah, so in the footage you could see it burn nice and hot and clean. I hope that you guys found this temperature overview helpful. If you guys do like my videos, don't forget, give them a thumbs up. Do not forget to click that subscribe button in the corner of the channel there. Thank you guys so much for watching. God bless. Have a wonderful day.